Batman Arkham Knight, people would look at it as a good game, right? Nobody looks at it as the perfect game. This game does have quite a few flaws overall. And today we're going to be looking over those flaws. And I'm not going to waste any more of your time. I'm not going to get into a massive introduction. So without further ado, let's just get into the list. The first problem I have with this game are the boss fights. The boss fights in this game are pretty atrocious. They are some of the worst boss fights out of the entire series. I would say one of my favorite ones is like the ending with Jason Todd and everything when he's, on top of the gargoyle and, he's got the sniper in his hand and everything. That one's fine. And it presents a relatively pretty good challenge actually overall, at least to me. So I'm okay with that. However, every single boss battle in this game revolves around the Batmobile. And that's a separate thing I'm going to get into. But there was not a single hand-to-hand combat boss battle from what I remember. Maybe there was and I'm just forgetting. But I don't think there was an actual boss really in this game that you had to fight in hand-to-hand combat. So it was all just revolved around the Batmobile, the Cloudburst tank, Deathstroke's boss battle, anything you could think of, Firefly. Everything was fought in the Batmobile in this game for boss fights, and in my opinion, was done atrociously. Now, the next thing that I think this game did not do so well was the Joker. Now, the way that he was included in everything, I actually don't have many problems with. I think Mark Hamill, once again, put on a masterful performance like he always has while playing the Joker. But people's problem is the fact he's in the game at all. And the fact that, Batman Arkham Origins kind of left a bit of a sour taste in fans' mouths. Like, they're just so sick of the Joker. They want other villains. They want new and fresh stories. So when Joker was included in this game, I think it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Be like, oh, I gotta deal with this guy again. He's dead, and I still have to deal with this guy. And, like I said, I don't think the overall way that he was used was bad. I think it's just the fact that people were so sick and tired of Joker that they just don't want to deal with it anymore. However, I will say that Joker does have some really funny lines and some really interesting dialogue overall in this game. I just think people are just kind of done with this character at this point and would like to move on to new and fresh characters. Now, the next thing that really bothers me about this game, it doesn't actually really bother me, I shouldn't say it like that, but that's the Batmobile. The Batmobile in this game was, in itself, fine. It handles fine, the combat with it is fine. However, there's way too much of it. I think people got really annoyed by every single, like I said, almost every boss fight revolving around the Batmobile. You deal with the Arkham Knight, and you deal with Deathstroke, you deal with Firefly. I'm trying to think of other ones, and there's so many, combat sections in this game where you have to use the Batmobile. If there was, like, maybe 5 of these throughout the course of the game, I don't think people would complain. If you cut the use of the Batmobile to, like, a third of what it was used, I don't think people would complain as much. However, my problem with the Batmobile as well is it kind of tends to ruin the pacing of the game, and you'll notice this when you go back and play it. But when you go through certain sections, like when the Arkham Knight kidnaps Barbara Gordon, and you have to go catch up to her, or you have to try to get to her, and you have to track the, the tire tracks and everything with the Batmobile, to me it just ruins the pacing of the game. Going underground to take on the Arkham Knight's little tank before his stealth boss battle, or going underground for Poison Ivy's plants. Like, that stuff to me just ruined the pacing of the game. It felt extremely boring, and I kind of just wanted to be like, come on, man, let's just get back to being Batman. Let's get back to gliding around, taking on goons, interrogating thugs, getting information we need. But instead, we have to go down this path of, oh, let's go deep underground. Then we have to get out of the Batmobile to, say, open up this door or power up this bridge or do something so the Batmobile can get across. And it's like, oh my god, I've had enough of this freaking Batmobile already. I want to just be Batman again. And I think that's the thing that other games did better, was they didn't have things, not nearly as bad at least, that completely ruined the pacing of the game. Now the next thing, this is another one where if I criticize, people will actually not want to kill me about, but this is the Arkham Knight's identity. The Arkham Knight's identity, reveal and everything, everybody pretty much knew it was going to be Jason Todd before the game released due to the marketing and stuff. And also, even if you didn't watch any trailers or see any leaks or anything like that, if you just played the game and you're playing the Panessa Studios section and you're seeing all these Jason Todd flashbacks, Joker sending Batman these films of him torturing and end up shooting and quote-unquote killing Jason Todd, it kind of made it obvious that the Arkham Knight was going to be Jason Todd in the lead-up. But it just kind of overall ruined, a lot of people's enjoyment of Jason Todd being the Arkham Knight. I don't think that Jason Todd being the Arkham Knight on its own is necessarily awful. I think if Jason Todd was not mentioned, if we didn't even know about him, because we've never seen him in this universe. So if we didn't see him at all, and then it was revealed, let's say, he takes off the Arkham Knight mask, and you see a Red Hood mask underneath, or, the same reveal happens, the exact same scene plays out, but we've never seen Jason Todd before going into this. I think a lot more people would be shocked. I think a lot more people would be either happy or surprised, because the whole revenge plot of Jason Todd trying to get back at Batman for quote-unquote, abandoning him in, an abandoned wing in Arkham for over a year with the Joker, that's not a bad plot line at all. It's just the fact that it was made super obvious that it was going to be Jason Todd. That's what people's biggest problem with the Arkham Knight being Jason Todd is. And hey, maybe at some point I'll make a video talking about who I think the Arkham Knight should have been, but I don't think the Arkham Knight being Jason Todd on his own, like I said before, was actually a bad thing. Now, the last thing I think this game did not do so well, and this is my biggest issue with the game, and that's the actual ending to the story. Where you are driven out to the asylum, you get your mask removed. You guys have probably played the game at this point. My biggest issue with this is the fact that Batman was willing to surrender so easily. And yes, you could say, oh, he was controlled by his fears, he doesn't want Jim, he doesn't want Robin to get hurt. I call baloney on that. Batman's never been someone who has shied away from saving hostages, from, doing whatever it takes. He's never done anything like this to save hostages. He's never just given up. It's not within his character. I don't think it was a very good plot line to write. I feel like it was a way to just, rush Batman getting his identity revealed so that it ends the Batman Arkham saga. I felt like it was just a rushed ending to the storyline so that, people can just stop asking for the Batman games or whatever. People still do ask for new Batman games, so obviously they didn't do what they were supposed to do. But to me, it just felt rushed. It felt like a screw you to the fans. And it felt like just an overall disservice to the Batman character. But guys, these are the things I think Batman Arkham Knight did not do so well. The next video I'm going to be making is going to be the ranking the Batman Arkham games from worst to best. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys subscribe for more content. Make sure you guys hit the notification bell so you get all notifications for when I upload. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!